Stellar XLM is controlled by the 10-year yield, which controls the trillions of dollars back and forth, going into this market, going into that market. How am I deriving at that? Well, if you don't know already, Bitcoin really does dominate the rest of the crypto markets. So effectively, whatever Bitcoin does, other cryptos follow suit, such as altcoins. Stellar XLM is an altcoin, and you and I need to look at what happens in these cycles. How does the 10-year yield control what's happening in the crypto market? How does it control Bitcoin? And is there any evidence? Can we prove this? Well, just so happens we can. And actually, I've got to jump to blockchain backer, as he highlights this very well. And I want to go back over some data where we were previously talking about the CPI data. We were previously talking about corporate debt. We were previously talking about money velocity, the M1 chart, and what's going on. All of these factors are going to tell us what's going on in the market, how the 10-year yield is actually having an effect, how the money velocity is moving, the M1 chart, how much money has been printed into the system, where is it going, money velocity in terms of CPI data, what's going on in the economy, how is the economy actually, the real economy, how is that actually working, how is it doing, gross domestic product, what's happening with the gross domestic product, is it producing, or are we in a recession, stagflation? So the US gross domestic product is actually 19.68 trillion, which is down from previous quarters of 19.73 trillion. But what you have to consider is that actually a year ago the gross domestic product was only 19.37 trillion. So actually, year on year, the gross domestic product is up. But we've only got to have 2 quarters of negative growth to technically be in a recession. That's something to consider as to what's happening with the economy, where the economy is going, how much the government is spending. This is going to increase inflation and it's going to reduce the GDP. Now, we really got to check out blockchain backer, see what he says about the Dow Jones and about Bitcoin, the technicals. Blockchain backer, over to you.
To extensive discussion on the stock market, crypto, and Bitcoin whenever a period of consolidation comes in for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Bitcoin and the crypto market goes into a bear market. Whenever it breaks out to new levels, that's when the market also runs with it as well. So right now, kind of looking to see, is this Dow Jones going to break out and go to new levels, or is this Dow Jones just going to go into a retracement? If it's just going to go into a retracement, well, process of elimination tells you, well, that's probably the best we could expect for the cryptocurrency market as well. But if the Dow Jones is going to set up to go break out into new all-time highs, well, then that's probably something to consider over there for the cryptocurrency market as well. So it's incredibly important to focus on it. And the obvious thing is, it's not. For some reason, the Dow Jones, the stock market, is getting way higher, and crypto, for some reason, isn't following it yet. What the reason is, don't know. But history has shown it tends to always do it. So I could tell you, I would much rather see the stock market taking off and crypto lagging behind than something looking faulty in the stock market and crypto's like going into some kind of retrace. That would be a little bit scary. I'd rather see the stock market leading the way with some strength to say, hey, crypto, you're ready for the show, rather than crypto kind of going on and doing its own thing and the stock market kind of lagging behind saying, hey, we're about to tumble. because there's no circumstances out there, even though people like to live in the fantasy land of it, to think that, hey, the stock market's going to crumble and crypto is going to rise like a phoenix from the ashes and all that stuff. But there's no precedent for that. History has always shown stock market has to lead the way. So we got to keep going.
Okay, so presently we can see that actually Bitcoin is not moving with the Dow Jones, but actually other cryptos are. Ethereum, Binance Coin, these top altcoins are moving along with a handful of other altcoins, which are actually now leading the way. What does this mean? This means that Bitcoin is losing its dominance. This means that actually Bitcoin may have already found its top and it is in a retracement. And also, you have to bear in mind that every bull run we have an altcoin season. It's never happened before where we don't have an altcoin season. We haven't had that altcoin season yet. So I believe that Bitcoin is losing its dominance and it's switching over to altcoins, and we will see this altcoin bull run. Okay, so let's check out the Bitcoin dominance chart and see what it's been doing in previous bull runs and altcoin runs. So let's look at the Bitcoin dominance chart in comparison to altcoins and where that is. You can see it's currently sat at 40%, right? And so during times of alt seasons, let's just say, you could see that actually the Bitcoin dominance drops. So anything prior to sort of 2017, okay, Bitcoin is going to be the most dominant. You're talking, up there in the 90s, high 90s, 99, 98%. And you could see just as other altcoins start to come into play, like Ethereum, like XRP, just bundles of altcoins start to move into the sector. The dominance drops. Okay, because it was mainly just sort of Bitcoin, and then you had other privacy coins where they would steal the value. So as you could see, come 2017, sort of mid 2017, that dominance has dropped as the momentum for altcoins picks up, and then it drops even more. Okay, so you've got two drops there, two significant drops, all the way down to about 40%. Okay, and this is after 2018, where altcoins like Stellar XLM, XRP had a massive run. Okay, and so we carry on. We got this period of consolidation, and then as you could see, come 2020 or 2019, the dominance really sort of picks up mid 2019, and then it sort of continues through because it's having its bull run along with Ethereum, and the altcoins aren't really doing anything. And then after that period, when it sells off, then the dominance drops. And at this point, we're back down to 40%, where we could see the dominance is likely to drop a bit again, because we haven't had that surge in altcoins, that massive, takeoff. Stellar XLM, what was happening with altcoins like Stellar XLM? Well, you can see clearly back in 2018, just at the end of 2017, when the Bitcoin dominance was switching over to altcoins, Stellar XLM blasted off into the stratosphere. And really, this is a continuation of what's happened before. And so if this is to continue for the altcoin market, we could see this big rise in Stellar XLM here as the dominance had dropped again back in 2022 or nigh on 2021, approaching 2022 or mid 2021, and then it sort of dropped off again as the dominance recovered. But you could see the dominance is starting to come back for Bitcoin, but things are sorting themselves out. In fact, we have to have front runners like Ethereum. Okay, so jumping over to Ethereum, we could see that this blue bar chart here is a fractal overlay taken from over here, which is pretty much complete, which has completed, less the wick. As you can see, there's a wick right here. All right, this wick goes down to around 550, I believe it is, but the actual price reversed in here at around 920, let's just say. So we could say that this wave of equal length has completed. It's not likely to go lower. We've been reversing for some time now, and also you could see that actually the price has come back up to 1937, which has gone back to its period of consolidation, pretty much like what the Dow Jones has done. So we could take into account Ethereum is one of the altcoins, or is the altcoin, probably with Binance Coin and a few other coins that are leading. Hopefully what we're seeing right now is an altcoin season, because the dominance is shifting from Bitcoin to altcoins. Okay, so we've established that actually cryptos really do seem to follow the Dow Jones stock market, and that actually we are seeing a reversal where in this case Bitcoin dominance is way down to 40%, could potentially be going even lower, down to around 35%, and also that Ethereum and other altcoins are actually moving like the Dow Jones, and Bitcoin is the laggard. We can also see that there is confluence with the Bitcoin dominance. When the Bitcoin dominance falls, we've seen Stellar XLM rise in value, and you can see the price comparison with the market pair Stellar XLM Bitcoin. At the same time the dominance falls, the price of Stellar XLM had gone up, and you could be sure that other altcoins were doing exactly the same thing at that time. You've only got to look at the charts. Okay, so now let's establish what's going to happen forthcoming with CPI data. So, and also money velocity, the yield, bonds. Okay, let's establish what's going to happen with that by going back to a previous video that I did, where we looked at how Joel Warby manages to anticipate what's going to happen with the yield curve, and how that the yield curve in fact is going to tell us what we could be seeing future coming. Over to the charts.
If the bond market, if the yield rises to 3%, essentially double to what it is now, then that means that all other debt in the world, their interest rate on that debt is going to rise, because all of the other debt in the market is in some way derived from the US 10-year bond yield. So you can be sure that if the US 10-year yield is rising, then you can be sure that the mortgage rates will be rising. You can be sure that all corporate debt is going to be rising. Loans are going to be more expensive in the interest rate demanded from it. Everything else gets more expensive. So gives you an indication of why this might well be a problem, because if we compare it to the last time that the US 10-year rose to 3%, we didn't have all of that debt that was created. Okay, so it simply means that now anybody with a 3%, even just 3%, of course, with the CPI, with inflation, if it really did run out of control, we could actually see this go much beyond that, but we'll just simply look at 3% for now. Gives you an indication though of why that is a potential problem. If debt becomes more difficult to service and people then will default on their loans, mortgages and the rest of it, there is a potential of that. It's not to say that will happen, it's just a danger of rising interest rates. So as we mentioned before, logically the next step for a Federal Reserve is to start raising interest rates, and we have got conversations at the moment happening between the Federal Reserve to actually see that happen, and there is projections for them to raise interest rates, to start tapering some of their economic support that has already been announced and is currently in place. So that is all to try and bring the risk of inflation running out of control in line, try and taper it a little bit, try and curb it a little bit. So That's not quite as easy as it sounds for the Federal Reserve to do, however, because if the Federal Reserve does raise interest rates, then they're going to start to cause the US dollar to rise in value. Because once the US dollar has a higher interest rate from the Federal Reserve, then it becomes more attractive for people to hold their money in dollars than it does comparatively to, say, yen or euros or whatever other currency. You'll be more likely to hold your money in dollars. And once the US dollar rises in value, then that has massive implications for the rest of the market, such as commodities, stocks, and of course the currency forex market as well.
Thanks again for that, Joel. We're going to have to pick this up again in another video, a part 2, possibly another part 3, where we could look at the CPI data and actually do a comparison. But if you saw there, you could see that the 10-year yield was at 1.63, and we are currently at 2.85 for the 10-year yield as it stands at the moment. I'll double check that, but the 10-year yield is up high. So what next? Well, you're going to have to see Nathan. Tell him what to do. So without further ado, if you enjoyed this content, you should join our community. Join Zioncoin.org.uk. The link is in the description. Join a VABC project. If you're a developer and you like to develop new applications, there's a VABC project for you. Social media project for you. Think tank project for you. So if you've got ideas about applications that you want to build out, work with the devs and make it happen. If you just like blogging, there's a VABC project for you. So it's all free, it doesn't cost you anything, and you'll get free Zion coins. Now, don't forget to pick up a ledger or a trezor, or even both. It's so important that you keep your assets on your own with your own cold storage wallets. Check out the link in the description. Pick up a ledger or both, a ledger and a trezor. Become your own banks. You're going to need to check out this next video if you enjoyed this content. It's on the latest of Stellar XLM and Zion coins. And if you like this content, smash the Zion coin up there, like and subscribe. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to share, because sharing is caring. I'm Nathan, aka Nathan of Zion. See you in the next one. Have a great day. Take care now.